Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we've got a great video. We're going to tell you the main reasons why people fail recruitment interviews.
Well, Matt, we do a lot of interviews every week, right? So just to give you an idea, right? We do around like 40, 50, 60 interviews every month between me and Matt to actually get like 4 or 5 people every quarter to join Cornerstone, okay? So Matt, why people don't get it?
I think that there's a list of reasons. I think one for me, which is an initial red flag, is when somebody's interviewing for other jobs apart from recruitment. So they come to us and they say, look, I want to get into recruitment, but I'm also interviewing for marketing jobs and maybe a non-sales job here, a creative job. That's always a huge red flag.
Yeah, because it means that you haven't like fully committed yourself to actually get a career in recruitment. I think is a compromise to that would be if you're interviewing for recruitment and sales jobs.
Yeah.
That is fine. It actually shows your interest in a sales related job, right? Could be a real estate, could be enterprise software sales, whatever. I think when you start to diversify too much, as Matt said, into marketing, back office, then your profile already loses a little bit of interest in the eyes of the interviewer, basically. But this usually is one of the things that, when we see it, we don't like it that much. I think the second point, talking about where you interview, right? What's your strategy about actually getting a job in recruitment? I see a lot of times people only applying to the big brands. So you cast your net really, really kind of tiny, so you're interviewing to 2 or 3 big brands. You are not successful in those brands and you kind of give up, I think the right strategy is to try to cast your net as wide as you can. The more you practice, the more you interview with different companies, the better you become at interviewing specifically for a recruitment job, which in itself increases your chance of getting a job in the recruitment industry.
So the third reason I think people fail recruitment interviews, specifically with us, but also with our competitors, is they fail the role play or the technical element, which is part of the interview. Here we're talking about people who want to get into recruitment, right?
Yeah.
So we, of course, don't expect people to understand the technicalities of the recruitment job. But I think what a lot of people fail on is the soft skills required to at least give a good impression in those role plays. Tenacity, bit of logical thought,
listening skills,
someone who doesn't give up. I think they worry too much sometimes about giving the technically wrong answer and forget about what we're really assessing them on, which is those soft skills which we can develop and we can train and then turn them into a good recruiter.
I think it is, unfortunately, as part of our interview process, that there's nothing really you can study or prepare. You just have to kind of go with the flow and improvise, and that for us is a great skill of a recruiter, right?
I think number 4 for me is around the questions that people ask in an interview. So usually there are 2 problems. One, somebody has no questions prepared. Listen, in every interview I do, for the last 10 minutes, I'm going to say, okay, what questions do you have for me? There you go, there's a hint if you're going to come and interview at Cornerstone. And the other people are the ones that fail, the ones that have some questions prepared, but really haven't put much thought into those questions. If you have prepared questions, I want somebody that has a genuine interest in finding out what happens in this job, what happens on a daily basis, how am I measured, how does a commission work?
Yeah.
And I think people often fall down at that stage in the interview.
Number 5 for me will be know your company you're interviewing for. A lot of people think that, well, it's easy to get a job in recruitment and you don't have to study or prepare actually to get a job. Like very basic things like, knowing who you're going to be meeting, a little bit of background of the person that you're going to be meeting, a little bit of the history of the company, the kind of people that work in the company, if a company is present like us on social media, study a little bit of that.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of the time that people come to the interview not really knowing anything, about the company. And of course, if you just a lack of preparation, which is basically, I think, a lack of serious interest in the company or the profession, can seriously impact your chances of getting a job. Another quite interesting one I think we saw recently, which is quite fun in my opinion, is over-preparing. So especially when we're doing online interviews, we started to see people using ChatGPT or some AI parallel, on the screen and helping you giving your answer. honestly, it's absolutely ridiculous because, I mean, it's so obvious that you're reading from a script and just the answers are so ridiculous. So I think I really discourage anybody to use any sort of like AI during interviews because it's just very obvious and you're gonna get eliminated straight away.
Yeah. People don't show their real self, right? So what we really want to see in an interview, we want to see you, because when you're actually doing this job, you've got to make personal connections, human connections with a lot of people. And the best way to do that isn't by being super fake, it's actually showing some of your genuine self.
I think the best version of yourself.
The best version.
The best version of yourself.
Not what you imagine we would want you to be like, right? So we look for that kind of genuine personality, someone who opens themselves up a little bit, and that's attractive to us when we interview people.
Well, the last one for me would be the basics, okay? They never get old, in my opinion. So things like your dress code. You know, if you have like 4, 5, 6 suits, try to wear the best one. Make sure your shirt is ironed. Make sure that you smell nice during the interview. Make sure that you are aligned with the dress code of the company as well. You know, some recruitment companies are more casual than others. You know, some we still want you to wear a tie, for instance, you know. So just make sure you are aware of that. Make sure you come on time. At least you will not be eliminated at first sight, basically.
This is so true. When someone is waiting for us to meet them, we'll be notified the person is sat there. So we'll go have a look. And you'll come back in and say, this person looks great. I think we've got a good candidate here. Or we'll come back and say, oh my God, this is a shocker. And even before the person's spoken, even if they're very good, they're on the back foot. And you've got a long way to go to catch up back to being in with a chance of getting the job. So be aware of that.
And it's not only about the way you dress, I think that is important. It's also your body language, you know. Can you keep good eye contact with the interviewer? Like your tone of voice, you know, like are you excited, you know, are you enthusiastic, you know, about the interview? At the end of the day, you're applying for a sales job where you're actually selling people, you know. So again, all the non-verbal type of skills or clue are as important as the verbal, because you can have an amazing pitch, but if this amazing pitch is delivered with the wrong tone of voice and by not looking somebody in the eyes, the technicality of that pitch are lost, right? So again, the way you dress, the way you speak are as important as what you say, in my opinion.
Okay, thanks for watching. Hopefully you picked up a lot of tips on how to successfully interview with a recruitment company. If you want to see more great videos about the recruitment industry, about how to succeed in recruitment, then do all the basics. Like, subscribe, comment, set the alerts, and we'll see you next time.